So as my mind goes through this economic frontier of life, I'm getting more and more fascinated. As I get older, I see people my age where the empirical evidence just starts accumulating that what you were trying in the past didn't work. And I'll give you an example. Like with feminism, gals my age, it's kind of over in terms of the romantic life. All right. And I'm sorry, ladies, just the facts, but uh, if you're a 50-year-old woman, the petals are off the bloom or the bloom is off the petals. You're not a fertile flower anymore. And at what point, especially if you subscribe to the feminist ideology, do you kind of say this really screwed up my life? This really wasted my love life. Um, Boy, I really would like to have a husband to grow old with. I guess I would have liked to have had children and family and love, but all I got is my master's in public health administration and half a century, not half a decade, half a century of being pissed off at men. When do you like, you're not dead yet. 50, you still got 30 years of life expectancy, a little bit more because women live a little bit longer than men because you all make us want to die earlier. But what I've was fascinated with the economist in me is like, okay, well, you've made some wrong decisions. Everyone does. We all waste time in some way or another. But when you get to when the data, when the evidence is so conclusive and so concrete that you made the wrong choice, don't you change direction no matter how much time you've invested down that path and how little time you might have left in your life? Well, you still have all of your life ahead of you. At all times, you have all of your life ahead of you. Now, it might be 60 years, that might be 6 months. But wouldn't you want to salvage what remains in your life, however little or much it is, enjoying it? And so, but I understand now, and this is where the fascination comes in. This is where, as I guess, a philosopher, I'm fascinated how people will double down because their pride. They can't admit they screwed up. I screwed up. I screwed up a lot of times, and I made changes. Oh yeah, and I still have regret, but I will not make the same mistakes for the rest of my life. I'll make whole new ones. I'll screw my life up in a completely new ways yet to be discovered. Don't worry, have faith in me. I'll figure some ways out. But going back to our analogy with the feminists, like, well, wouldn't you hit the gym? Wouldn't you grow your hair out long? Wouldn't you start being nice to guys? Wouldn't you give up on the antagonistic view of men? And that's where it's like, oh, okay, let's see the human mind, kind of rationalize things. And so you don't. It's sad. It's very tragic. They double down. No, I didn't screw up. I'm going to protect my pride. I'm going to protect my ego. And then they just condemn themselves. They damn themselves to wasting all of their life. And there's other ways you could look at it too, like fat people. Like at no point in time did anyone with a sane mind say fat was good or healthy or there's anything good about it. Uh, we all know it's bad. It ends your life early and it's not enjoyable. It destroys your love life, destroys your sex life. But man, again, that fascinating thing about human psychology and humanity is stuff like, yeah, you're right. Fat is bad. We should do it for my own health. So I go and, I'm an overweight 30-year-old. There's still time. I'm still young, relatively speaking. I should get myself in shape, become attractive to the opposite sex, get myself a nice little love life or dating life or sex life. And just for health's sake too. Man, especially you girls, again, you're so mentally ill, you will try to make it the politically correct fact in society, at least in America, that big is beautiful. It's a fascinating study. Like, wow. And you're not really hurting anyone else. You're just ruining the rest of your life. Like you are harming yourself. I never understood that. Like, why would you keep doing something that's bad for you? Worthless degrees. I majored in political science. No, let's do something even dumber than that, journalism. And then you go and you get a master's in journalism? Why don't you just admit that it's, why? It's not helping you. Or allow you to go to law school. That's the worst thing. You get a liberal arts undergrad. Well, it can't be that I majored in something stupid and there's no jobs here. I need a law degree. Now you're $300,000 in debt. Your life is financially crippled because you just couldn't admit that what you had to do some math. You had to like produce a product people wanted. No one cared about your leftist politics as a 23-year-old child. Like, oh, really? Another 23-year-old journalism major who's got leftist politics. Oh, let me guess. More of other people's money? Okay, why don't you go join Noam Chomsky? All right, join his gang. You can literally become a nobody. Like there's a sea of you out there. You're just one molecule of water. No one's you're not gonna differentiate yourself. But then what I also wondered, because I have done this journey myself personally, what's it like living your life entirely under poverty? Because poverty is a choice. It is a choice. And I've said it here before, and you guys, you regular tuners, inners, always, the number one cause of poverty is having more kids than you can afford. But there are other things that could screw you up along the way. So having more kids than you could afford, majoring in something stupid, committing crime isn't directly related to finances, but it don't help your finances, and spend less than you make. Those are the 4 rules I have, and it doesn't guarantee you're going to become Jeff Bezos rich, but it will guarantee you don't become poor unless something truly tragic happens to you, like injury, bad something outside of your control. But if people follow those 4 rules, you wouldn't be poor. You wouldn't be rich, but you wouldn't be poor. And that's why I'm fascinated with poor people after a certain age. Because unless, again, something truly tragic happens to you, poverty is a choice. And I'm always fascinated with people like general, let's say 30 plus. Like, what are you doing? Like, is it fun being poor your entire life? And keep in mind, when I mean poor, I don't mean necessarily someone homeless. We just did a video a couple days ago, a day or two ago, about how it was a contradictory title to an article. It says half of America's wealthy live paycheck to paycheck. I'm like, then you're not wealthy. They're talking about how half the people who make $100,000 and more live paycheck to paycheck. That's poor. You have no wealth if you're living paycheck to paycheck. You have no savings. So I'm talking all of you, from what would be classically, stereotypically poor, someone homeless, someone living in poverty, Great Depression type of picture, to you faux rich people who don't have a penny to your name because you have more debt than you have assets and you blow through all your money. What is that like? See, because I was poor, I would say up until about 30. No. If you include minimalism and all that, I'd say I was poor up until about 28, 29. All right. Actual poor. Like I could, I afforded things. I got by lower middle income. One would argue until very recently, I'm still lower middle income. And only today I'm squarely middle income. Many thanks to you guys with these super chats and buying my books, by the way. But when I was poor, and I mean poor, like Toto Po, it was, you could order a dozen po' boy sandwiches and I'd be even more po than that. That's how po I'd be. I think, what was it? And I, of course, got to adjust for inflation, but I think my first year as an 18-year-old, I think I made 12 grand. I still managed to pay for tuition. Yes, tuition was cheaper back then, and rent. I remember renting a room for $175 a month. You just ramen, ham sandwiches, bagels and ham sandwiches. I mean, it was poor. And I dropped down from 147 pounds when I graduated as senior in high school down to 118 because there was no food. It was poor. I was poor. Still survived. And I don't know about you guys, but that sucked. It was painful. It was misery. And that's why I did everything I could to get out of it. Now, a lot of you people focus on I'm going to make more money. And I was focusing on going to school. Okay. But that's a 4-year process. But I also focused on my spending. I made it so that I would be able to afford things. I never borrowed money. I never bought stupid things. And so, harsh as that environment was in college, it taught me fiscal discipline. It taught me never to spend more than I made. And then slowly but surely, I started teaching dance classes here. I get a little side thing over there offering online classes and financial management, which I was supremely qualified to. Not because I went to college for finance, but because I learned a budget, learned to spend less than I made. And then, career in banking, which even though that sucked, it was completely unreliable. Money started coming in. Bought rental property, lived in a basement, rented out the upstairs. And then I made the jump from poor, literally lowest quintile, to lower middle income. And it was because of my minimalism, not how much money I made, but my minimalism that, okay, maybe I think, we're talking 30, 40 grand at most. I still had food, clothing, and shelter. I wasn't poor. I was po no mo. And people would say, well, you were lower middle income, but yeah, not the standard of living. I mean, yeah, okay, there were some things that were still poor. Living in a basement in Minnesota was really cold. Pipes would freeze. My cars were absolutely not fancy, but I had two of them. One was a true junk car. The other was my regular car, and I don't think I spent more than $3,000 between the both of them, and I had to fix them up and things like that. So you would say that's poor. I would argue it still ran, still had heat, still provided transportation. So in terms of the enjoyment of life, it was pretty much the same as someone who was middle income. And it was still the same as someone who was making $200,000, let's just say, but spent $255,000. And even though I may not have had the nicer things and, oh, dude, $5 footlongs. Every guy knows about that, man. When $5 footlongs come along, we're all living like kings, man. We're all living like kings. Um, and even though, like, yeah, okay, fine, I didn't have a boat, I didn't have a fancy car. One thing I didn't have was the stress about the finances. It's one thing I didn't have. I did not have stress about the finance. I was slowly building up a net worth, equity in the home, and a small little Roth IRA, 401k type of thing. And as Cappy got older and started making a little bit more money, things got a little bit more stable. I continued not to screw up, following those 4 rules. And I got older, I started seeing people my age, like, they never got over, like, okay, I understand you're mid to late 20s, even your early 30s, you're gonna do the dude bro thing. You're gonna get your fancy car, and you're gonna spend money on fancy restaurants and $10 martinis and all this other stuff. But inevitably, even most of my friends got out of that. But then I look at my age group, not my peer group. My peer group is very elite, very prestigious. It's a long but distinguished list. No one's gonna get that joke. My age, dude, they did the I can't believe the boomers, all they do is buy boats and cars. Oh, yeah, like Gen X do? And like I said before in the other video, it's like high school and middle school never end. You're all still pissing away more money than you make. And what's that like? Because now, if you're older like me, you're starting to bump into the hard limits where you're not gonna save up enough money for retirement. Where the stock market, there's not enough ups and downs, let alone the ups left up in the stock market, that you're pretty secure in being able to retire at 65. Now you're facing boomerland where you're gonna have to work past 65. You have to work to your 70, 75, maybe until you're dead. But then going to absolute poverty, what you could make the argument that if you're $250,000, the material items you buy, you're getting food, you're getting very nice homes, you're getting very nice cars. So you're not experiencing lower income level. But let's go to that lower income level where, you're the single mom with 5 children from 6 baby daddies. Don't worry, the math works out. You're the deadbeat dad who, doesn't know what a condom is, doesn't know what a vasectomy is, and in 1 month you spend more on child support than you would if you just got the vasectomy. Um, you're the let's go out of stereotypical trailer trash ghetto park type of thing. Let's now go more Gen Z millennial. You're a professional activist. You got $250,000 in student loan debt, and you rely on government grants to fund whatever joke of a nonprofit you work for, so you get paid your $12 an hour for 3 months, and then you bitch and whine to government. You live off your parents. You're effectively a professional white collar panhandler, right? And now you're all hitting the 30-year plus mark. You're at least 30 or older. Same question that I had for the feminists that are 50, the college students who are 30. the fat people who are 35. Is that what you want your life to be like? Like, you want the rest of your life to be like that? Do you wanna be poor for the rest of your life? Because that's gotta suck, and I know it's gotta suck because I was there, but I had a plan, and I got out of it. And it wasn't even I didn't have to go that high. I didn't have to make Bezos money. All I had to do was make 35 grand back in whatever, 2005, 2006 days, adjusted for inflation. It was about maybe 50,000 today. We'd have to look at the inflation numbers. What's it like making stupid decisions? And above all else, and here's the number one reason why you're poor, you don't work. Everyone tries the easy way. You'll so begrudgingly, tooth-pullingly go and do work, and you do so little of it. And by work, I also mean, like, going and getting a skill or trades that you make more than $12 an hour, and you'll work at the Verizon store as a sales clerk. Like, how do is it that painful to go and get a trade or learn to drive truck or to learn accounting? Is that more painful than the life of poverty you're living now? 'Cause I don't I'll tell you right now, I never had an accounting class because I had to take some accounting courses. Not one accounting course was more painful than living in a basement when it was below 20 outside in Minnesota. I can't imagine what's that like having kids you can't afford. I can't imagine what that's like being sleep deprived because the kids are always crying and having to shuffle the kids and manage the kids between 3 different baby daddies. I can't imagine. That's worse pain than if you had just, like, taken a pill, or used the morning after pill, some pill, and then you went to school for accounting and you studied hard and you got good grades. Yeah, it would have been boring, but it would not have been the misery that you're all suffering now. Like waiting for a bus, I always find that fascinating. Like waiting for a bus is a tremendous inefficiency. It's a tremendous waste of time. You have to sit there. You waste about 15 minutes waiting for the bus. Lord knows what if it's cold or hot outside. Then you're on the bus. The bus don't go straight where you got to go. It goes kind of near where you go when it gets there. So that's another half an hour wasted. Then you got to hoof it half an hour. Then you got to repeat that process back. That's a 2-hour commute. And that's if you're doing work. What if you got to go get groceries? Like now you're looking at 4 hours wasted. Why? Because you just couldn't do the work, man. Or you made tremendously stupid mistakes. You violated the 4 rules I mentioned before. And instead of saying, I got to make changes, instead of saying, okay, this sucks. This sucks. I don't want to be poor anymore. This sucks. So I'm going to make some changes. Or not even I'm going to make some changes in my life. I have the evidence has accumulated and made it very clear to me that this is more painful than had I just joined the military, got the GI Bill, went to trade school, something, set down the pot. I didn't realize how huge that is among the poorer classes. Pot. Got a job, paid rent. And if you want to go to the extreme, like it's very obvious, the life of a homeless person is way more miserable than anyone who works. It's way more miserable, way more pain, way more work, constantly trying to find a place that's warm enough to survive a winter night. Instead of you just going to the local shelter, cleaning up, getting a haircut, going to Goodwill, getting some donated clothes, and going to work at some regular job just to be indoors, if for anything. You're worried about one thing I never understood: homeless people who want to stay warm at night. Well, why don't you work a night shift? Like, why don't you just get some kind of nighttime gig? Don't give me your excuses. Like, you're 35 and you're homeless. You got 40 years left of homeless nights, cold homeless nights. What you gonna is and what are you trying to save? Like, I can understand if you were a feminist. You have this proud religion you must defend. You must defend your choice to basically eschew men and have nothing to do with them. But when you're homeless, there's nothing proud. If you're really poor, there's nothing proud. When when you realize and do the cost benefit analysis to say this life sucks and I don't want to be poor anymore. Now, and I think once again, now then we're you guys are with me. We're on that cliff. We're looking over humanity. Look at him. Look at him. They have 3 decades, 4 decades, 5 decades of empirical proof that what they've been doing is wrong, and it's misery. It's absolute misery. Look how many of them are gonna continue down this path. But why? I don't know. Isn't it fascinating to watch, though? And so that's why I was wondering, like, do you wanna be poor the rest of your life? Do you enjoy that? Is the fear work that strong? Or if we go to the case of the poor people who make over 6 figures, is the materialism that strong? Like your vanity, you need to have the fanciest shtick? Oh, almost made it not monetizable. Look at that. You have to have the granite countertops. You need to have the brand new car, but you don't have any money and you're living paycheck to paycheck and you're going to live in this financial anguish for the rest of your life. What is that like? Tell me. I need to know. Why do you choose that? Because it is a choice. It is a choice. And then some of you guys would be like, well, my wife would divorce me. Oh, well, then that's good to be a slave for the rest of your life. Okay. The super poor person, like, I just hate work that much. Okay. I would say it's not as painful as what you're doing now, but and then some people just not as wealthy as they'd like to be. But then I don't know, spend your money on booze, going out, jokes of clothes. What or you just don't want to go to school. Hey, what do you got? What's your opportunity cost? You're gonna play video games for 4 hours a day. If you went back to school for some kind of trade or skill or CPA, you'd make a lot more. Video game you do know the video games have not there's not been a revolution in video games except for maybe Oculus Quest since in 20 years since Xbox came out, PlayStation came out, the new controller. It's all the same games. It's just simple, better graphics. You want to try something different? Maybe work would be rewarding. It's just fascinating to me. Anyway, so if you're interested in getting out of poverty, I got no guarantees for you. But what I have noticed is that starting as a very young person, I'd say almost 3, especially in this country, you're conditioned and brainwashed to want stuff. Now, to want stuff is natural because you need stuff to survive. So consumerism is already a genetic, biologically hardwired thing. But man, they convince, and I'll give you the perfect example again. The last thing poor black boys need is to spend $200 on Nike Air Jordans, promoted by that disgusting piece of filth, Colin Kaepernick, and the Nike Corporation. Absolutely disgusting. Young black boys, if you really want to help out young black boys, that $200 would go to get a bike or even an electric bike, and those kids could do Uber Eats. They could make money on that. I'm just saying. Where was I going with that? The consumerism. You are programmed starting as a little kid to spend money. In college, you're programmed to go to school for $150,000 for a joke of a degree. Everyone needs the house and the mansion in the mixed suburbs. You all need fancy sports cars, bro. And you girls need your safety SUVs. But I care about the environment too. And the real, I don't know. There's got to be, maybe guys buy boats. Maybe that's where we're really stupid in sports cars. Maybe that's our weak spot. But with the women, man, and I don't think a single woman has taken my class, which is linked down below. But you girls spending $5,000 on a handbag or shoes, what the hell's wrong with you? Well, I know what's wrong with you. You're brainwashed to think like that you won. That's how you prove to society. Never mind that you got 30 cents in your bank account. You got a Prada handbag or you got some Jimmy Choo shoes. You're conditioned and programmed and brainwashed starting from, I'd say, 3 years old to death to buy crap you don't need. And they have it convinced in you, and it's totally reinforced in school, that you got to have these things and the stuff. And more recently, especially for you Gen Zers, the status and prestige that comes with a higher education. So smart. And it's like, if it was good degree, you'd have a job that would pay for the degree and you wouldn't need to be bailed out. And your degree would be unique. You'd have something intelligent to say. All you do is regurgitate Democrat talking points. That's it. 80% of your college degrees out there is regurgitate these Democrat talking points. That's why I have absolutely zero respect for Noam Chomsky. He is a brilliant man. Look him up. He has done real work in the past, but for the past 50 years of his life has been wasted. More of other people's money. Thanks, Gnome. Literally, your life could end and it wouldn't matter now. You literally are a valueless person. But you have a master's degree in jerk-off studies. So I understand that, like, when society tells you that, and you got and it's cool. Okay, yeah, sports cars are awesome. Who wouldn't want to have their own private plane? But if it comes at the expense of, even in the best of times, let's say you make that $250,000, you still spend $250,005, still pow, still miserable. And then when you're old, you got to work till you're dead. You never get to do what you want. And that's why I came up with the course link below, Achieving Minimalism. Okay. It's through Teachable. You got to click on the button to expand and it'll show you the link. Or if you just want to search it, you could search Teachable Achieving Minimalism, Aaron Clary. Or you search the Clary School of Economic Philosophy, because they make you name your school. And I want to be very humble about my school. I didn't name it anything grandiose. It's there. You take that course. And when I try to, can't guarantee, because ultimately at the end, it's your choice. I try to break this addiction to spending and materialism, right? I try to say, look, moron, idiot, fool, you don't need all this crap. When we do a deep dive into genetics and psychology, it's really more becoming unaddicted. It would more parallel an addiction rehab kind of thing. Although not by design, it was more economics philosophy. And I try my best to slap you across your face and wake you the F up. Say, wake up. You're gonna die. But I have all these things. I have to. If this doesn't wake you up a little bit, hopefully it does. But, you're a 58-year-old woman and you got a $3,000 pair of shoes. Ain't no one care. Because your biddies are pruny. You got pruny biddies. And they ain't tig ol' anymore. They ain't tig old biddies. They're pruny old droopies. And it's over. It's over. You gotta die. And so, I don't know about you, but whether you're a young man or woman, whether you're an old man or woman and you only got 10 or 5 years life left, do you want to make it count? Would you like to be free of financial slavery and servitude? Would you like to be free of your debts? Well, you have to pay them off. But that comes through achieving minimalism, not needing crap. You're like, but how do I get rid of my hard desire to want crap? Take the class. Oh, I gotta take it. Yeah, you're gonna have to get off your ass. Yeah. Oh, and by the way, not only are you gonna have to get off your ass and take the class, you're also gonna have to pay me $450 because it's very expensive. And you're not gonna have to pay that, but because you guys keep voting Democrat, there's sales tax involved. So it's somewhere around $500 plus or minus a couple, depending on your state. Yeah. Choices have consequences. I'd like to keep it cheaper. Y'all keep voting up the price. Not my fault. Anyway, the reason I charge so much is, 1, I'm greedy. Okay. 2, I like money. But a very close third is, I found out ain't nobody listen unless they pay a price. And I think Freud came up with it. Like, if you don't pay a price, you don't learn anything. And there's 2 ways to learn something and make changes. To decide you're going to take action. And that is, you pay a price either in terms of actual finances and time, because all money is your time, or through pain. And since I can't run up and kick you in the nuts every time you make a stupid purchase, although if you want to pay me an egregious sum of money, I could be your nut kicker. I'll just walk around with you the entire time. You pay me $100 an hour. And anytime you buy something you don't need, I kick you in the nuts. It's called negative reinforcement. That's the official psychology term. I think that'll be a little bit too expensive. But if you pay this $450, $500 with taxes, now you might pay attention. Now you just might. And everyone like, oh, $500 for a minimalism class. Oh, is that your car payment? Because you can't afford a car. Is that what your wife pisses away on clothes like every 2 weeks? Is that what you spent on tuition for a credit of college class? Is that what you spent? For your sociology degree. I guarantee you. See, it's not a monthly thing. It doesn't accrue interest like your car loan or your student loans. It's a one and done. And then in this way, you metaphorically kick your own self in the nuts, saying, damn, that hurt. I better make it count. And so it's linked down below. Now, that class will close for enrollment on the end of the 9th. You have basically 48 hours to enroll for the class. I think you have once you enroll in it, you have 45 days to complete it. But I don't mess around. You want to be serious about it? Take it now. Oh, by the way, rule number 5 should be you don't procrastinate. That'd be another thing I can maybe add to rule number 5. But you procrastinators, someday, to quote Tom Cruise in Night and Day, he says, someday. That's just code word for never. Okay, so you do it now or before the 9th ends. And then not only do you sign up for it and pay for it, you actually take the class. You take, and all it is video. All right, there's a PowerPoint presentation that comes with it. Yeah, Nick, 500 is what I spend on booze. Exactly. I spent more than that on booze in my peak drinking days. Thank you for the honesty, Nico. And then if you do what's in the class, your finances are going to get a lot better rather quickly. And then you're not living paycheck to paycheck anymore. And then not overnight, but in a year or two time, depending on how much debt you have, soon you'll be Pono Mo. I should get little medallions, like, because Dave Ramsey always awards people. He celebrates when people go debt free to make the last pay. I should have a little medallion that says Pono Mo. Cappy, I was Po. And then we'd be like a Baptist church. Tell us, brother, preach. Yes, go, brother. And I saw the light, and he was coming for me. We need Shogun from the Turd Flinging Monkey Show to come in and do it. Preach, brother, preach. And then I cut up my credit cards. And then I worked a second job. And I looked the devil dead in the eye, say, no more from these, Satan of finance. I banish thee from my personal financial statements. Sing, brother, sing. And on that last day, January 27th, 2027, I slew the finance devil and banished him from my life forever. And I'm debt free. And then you get the Pono Mo medallion. I'd make that, actually, if I found an affordable place and you were honest, you said, hey, I had debts, but then I got debt free, I would get you a Pono Mo medallion. That'd be kind of cool, don't you think? A little medallion. That'd be more proud than your 8th place trophy that your millennial parents got you because you showed up for a soccer match one time, or the 20th place, whatever they give you. You get a Pono Mo medallion. Yeah, look, Tail Gunner, only have 2,000 left there. I Pono, but dude, Tail Gunner, I should do it. Why don't you email me? Let me see if I can't find a place that makes medallions. You guys remember Grand Theft Auto Medallion Man? And who was the guy? He did hello and welcome to Rodrigo Romance. What was the guy? It was the shtick, he was very romantic and he had the Latin accent. But he also did the commercials for Medallion Man. Medallion Man, I remember that. That was good. Anyway, so you can take the class. It's linked below. I can't guarantee you'll get out of debt. Can't guarantee you get your finances together. Can't guarantee you'll be Pono Mo. I can guarantee you'll give you a swift kick in the nuts. You need to really put a serious effort into it. And I will say this. I will say it is the best product on the market. I will say that's my opinion, of course. And I don't just say that because it's mine, but I think I put it together because I saw a market. I didn't see anyone doing it this way. And so there you go. Maybe it's worth it. Heck, even if you stop your spending for 5 months, it's a positive ROI. Then you go back to your regular spending habits. Well, at least you save money for 5 months. You saved a couple grand, and then you say, that's a high ROI, multiple 100% rate of return. But do it now because it closes in about 48 hours. All right, let's go through the super chats. All donations of the super chats today will go to, I don't know, gas. I don't have that many expenses left. I already paid my property taxes. I already paid my second quarter estimated taxes. maybe some carb cleaner. I gotta fire up the weed whacker and lawnmower. This is what happens when you become old and you don't have expenses. You start you become such an old middle-aged man. You're like, "Oh, look at me. I am so a middle-aged 40-something guy buying responsible things like carb cleaner." I honestly don't know what I'm gonna spend. Really, I kinda got everything set. I'll show you a tour of my garage. It's like everything's organized, like everything got my tools put away. You're like, huh? So that was life, huh? Yep, you won. This kind of is really boring winning. Yeah, well, it's better than being in debt. I know most people my age, like, well, not most, but all these guys, like, you're almost 50. You just still got debt from your MBA. You got still like 90% mortgage on your house. Your wife is fat. Your kids are starting to hate you. You're like, oh man. And just so you know, the reason I'm laughing, these are the same people. I'll give you a really quick story in the 80s. I literally got in fights when I was in middle school because I had Velcro shoes from Walmart because they weren't Nike high tops. That's what a jerk of a school I went to. And people would pick on you if you didn't have fancy clothes. Just a I remember these people, and I'm like, they got kids, don't they? Nice family you got there. But I just have to let them live because these people never changed. They're all divorced, they're all fat, and they're all in debt. They never because they still thought it was about clothes. And it's like, man, you are almost 50 years old and you have student loan debt. And that MBA didn't pay off. You're buying a Harley because you're a moron. Because you still never mind. Let's go to the super chats and have ourselves a treat. The Tempest, 55.55, $5 Australian. But Mr. Celery, you told me I could be T-Rash. Well, T-Rash is a special breed now. Hang on. We gotta understand T-Rash. T-Rash lives off of the state. And all T-Rash does, he goes to the gym, he gets in fight and lives off of the state, either because he's a criminal and he's in jail, and that's where he spends half of his time. That's his primary abode. Or he's so good looking, all the girls will give him free lodging and help him with rent. I gotta, as an economist, I gotta interview guys who've had women help pay with rent. I gotta be like, how'd you get there, man? How'd you do it? Because there's these guys that could borrow, and they all got six-pack abs. I think there's a connection there. But you can be T-Rash, but that is that's a completely different strategy. That's a completely different path with completely different set of rules. But you can be T-Rash. It's just, but you don't invest in a 401k. You don't go to college. Your investment is at the gym and line to sweet baby mamas. That's what your goal is. I wonder where our T-Rash from yesterday is. Django Geek for $2. How can I get in touch with Elkins? I don't know. Search Chad Elkins. You find his website. Aren't you the Google generation? Don't you guys know how this internet thing works? In our day, we had to go to the library. In our day, we had to go to the yellow pages. Roger Schaefer, $5. You write about too many kids making you poor and having them too soon makes it worse. Yeah, it's taken 2 decades where I'm more than break even. Yeah, don't have kids you can't afford. Best investment in life was a vasectomy. Guys, I'll tell you right now for the men, just go get a vasectomy. Research the pros and cons. All right, but that is one of, if you want to make sure you don't have kids you can't afford, get a vasectomy. And with all this tumult and chaos surrounding the Roe versus Wade decision, the Supreme Court and all that, just get a vasectomy. Just do it. Be done with it. I don't know if T-Rash would get a vasectomy because he could still be very T-Rashy getting all the girls, but I don't think you necessarily have to be a deadbeat dad to be T-Rash. You just have to collect rent. I think that's the key thing. If you can get a woman to pay your rent, you're T-Rash. Liz Chamberlain, $5 Australian. Thoughts on Kevin Samuels passing? Watch the previous podcast I just did. We kind of gave him a eulogy, a real red pill masculine eulogy. But it's tragic. It's sad. I think he died having a lady over, though. Because you gotta salute that, man. It's like getting killed by a mountain lion. Like, wow, he went the way you wanted to go. That's how a real man would go. And you could see how much society hates people that speak the truth. And we should do everything to maintain his reputation. But I think his works will do that. All he did was hurt a lot of delusional females and simping men's feelings. That's all he did. He just hurt the right people's feelings. And for that, his reputation will try to be varnished. But as time goes on, you'll see, the man was just speaking the truth. He just had the courage to point out that the emperor had no clothes. That's all. Flyover Rob, $20 generous dollars. Rob is really a great person. It has nothing to do with the $20 he just gave me. He just is naturally a really great guy. Spending money makes people powerful. It does. Their lives may be a mess with no money in the bank, but that finance kitchen remodel and leased Range Rover can be better a powerful drug. You know what? Yes, that dopamine hit. They think, they're flexing over their neighbors, but it's always a losing proposition. I've seen it happen. Like, okay, Tina gets the Audi A8, but Becky got the Audi A10. And let's be honest, they didn't get it. Their husband did. And the husband, let's be honest on that, the husband didn't. The bank did. Because none of these people have money. Yeah, that's more common than you think. I talk about it in the minimalism class. I talk about this real estate development called the Prestige. It's not called the Prestige, but that's what I call it. All those houses got to be worth $650,000, $700,000. And no one has a sliver of equity in those homes, even though they've lived in there for 8-10 years. Why? Because they all took out the money and they buy fancy cars and boats that they put out front instead of in the garage. One, because they have so much crap in the garage, and two, they got to whip their dick out and show it to the neighbors. There you go. All right. Class is linked below. We'll see you guys later. Toodles.